I don't know why you're still so excited. I don't know. I don't know, but I know anyway. I know why you're still excited.
My heart is full. I'm just so excited. I'm just happy that we passed the semi-finals.
You know, my people will say, AC, then that is my heart is red. Meaning I'm really excited.
Okay. That's it. I'm really excited. My heart is red right now. Super Eagles, well done. Except you will be though. Well done to everyone else. Except you will be at this point. I'm just, you can hear my voice is like breaking because I screamed my heart out yesterday. Simeon, that match. Emotional turmoil. No. If I've ever seen any emotional turmoil.
You know, that one they call emotional damage. That was what we saw yesterday. But we're really excited. We're elated. Nigeria came out tops at the end of the day. And we'll be playing, at the finals, finally. Thank God.
Very, very excited. I hope that we bring it home. I really, really hope that we bring it home because at this point we need a win.
Yes, definitely.
We really do need a win. This is Front Page Review, Voice of the People, 96.1 FM. Good morning to you and welcome on board this show as we cut across different headlines this morning. We go across newspaper headlines and then we bring you the headlines as we see them. Don't forget we'll be joined at 7:30 by El-Rufai and Saini, and then we've got a guest at the 8 o'clock hour, so you want to stick around and listen to the conversation this morning.
And of course, talking about the front page review for today, we'll be flipping through the pages of some, papers. We'll check out headlines from The Punch, The Vanguard, Daily Sun, as well as, Nigerian Tribune as well. And of course, talking about the top story across several newspaper platforms. And even though we touched on it this morning, it's still talking about the Super Eagles. So let's start with that first.
We'll start with that in a moment, but we're live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube. Go ahead and join us on YouTube. It is at Voice of the People. Voice of the People Abuja. Go ahead, join us. We're live on YouTube. Voice of the People Abuja. Leave a comment. Let's know you're listening. All right. You have to click on that subscribe button and the like button as well. Go ahead and do all that. We're also on WhatsApp.
Feel free to send us a message or a voice note. 0700 010 961 961. 0700 010 961 961. And now let's talk about the biggest news in the country, aside other stories on insecurity and food shortages in the country. Let's talk about something a bit exciting this morning, being Thursday. Okay, let's start with the Super Eagles victory. Shettima pledges government reward for AFCON finalists. Super Eagles victory. Shettima pledges government reward for AFCON finalists. Vice President Kashim Shettima met with the Super Eagles following their win over Bafana of South Africa and promised that the federal government will reward them for their commitment and dedication. The Super Eagles disclosed this in a statement and photos shared on the official X handle early Thursday. And the statement part of the statement read, the federal government has promised to reward the Super Eagles for their commitment and dedication in reaching the final of the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations in Côte d'Ivoire. And of course, it is reported that the Super Eagles of Nigeria advanced to the final of the tournament after beating Bafana of South Africa 4-2 on penalties. And for those who are wondering the record Nigeria is holding, Nigeria now holds the record for the highest number of appearances at the AFCON semi-finals, having played 15 times. So congratulations are in order, for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And it was really amazing and really cool to see the vice president. The first time the camera panned to the VIP box, at the stadium, I saw someone wearing a face cap and a tracksuit and and a track pants as well. And at first, where I was watching it, I was like, I asked the person, wait, did you see our vice president? And the person said, who did you see? I said, I'm seeing somebody that looks like, Kashim Shettima, the vice president. And he's like, no, now the vice president won't be here. And finally, during the second half games, the camera panned to him again and
perfectly.
stood on him. And when he stayed there, I was like, oh, He's our VPO.
You know, Simeon, right?
Did you see when he celebrated the goal?
Yes.
He was doing that his hand like this. I'm like, Ogao, we didn't know you are such a great dancer.
Oh, I'm so excited because, when you're watching football, especially with guys, you hear a lot of things.
Yeah,
and
true.
one thing that stood out to me, is the fact that once we see an appearance of our leaders, there's some sort of, I don't know, smell in the air. Why is it that we always feel a type of way whenever we see our leaders at events like that? We always feel like, these guys are here to jinx us. Why is that the energy?
I don't know. That because during Buhari's administration, for every time the Super Eagles had a game to play, and he put a call across to them, it doesn't end up, really great. Let me use that word. So that stigma has always been there in the minds of Nigerians that anytime we see our president or our vice president, something must happen. But funny thing is, yesterday I said something, to the guys around when I was watching the football. Immediately I confirmed that was the vice president, Kashim Shettima. He was like, hey, it's not Shettima to we'll lose this match. And I'm like, no, we won't lose the match. What I said was, he is not Buhari. This is Kashim Shettima. And then I said, Tinubu, somehow, I don't know how he does it, but he has some kind of luck.
Some grace.
I don't understand it. And it will work for Nigeria. And when we won with Iheanacho Cho scoring the final penalty, I told you, don't worry. Even if Tinubu was the president was at that match, we'll still win. He's not Buhari.
I'm just excited. I mean, finally a win. We can take a break. This excitement will last us for like a week or two. It will last us, depending on what the finals will say. But at this point, I'm excited because South Africans did not beat Nigerians at that particular moment for no rest at this point. A lot of people have been saying that we wouldn't have because social media X. You know the way Nigerians are, we're always extra.
And there was this air of uncertainty that preceded the game, especially with the Nigerian High Commission issuing an advisory asking Nigerians that if we win the match, we should tone down the way we celebrate in South Africa. And of course, the South African government also responding to that statement that Nigeria shouldn't make such apprehensive statements, that it is not nice, it is totally unnecessary. At the end of the day, it's a good one. South Africa is our neighbor. They are our brothers and sisters. Anytime we love them, we celebrate them.
They played a very good match.
Even though we won yesterday, but South Africans weren't bashed on social media. Ghanaians were the one receiving it. I don't know why. Let's move away from football.
All right. We're starting off the show with court orders federal government to fix prices of goods in 7 days. The court orders federal government to fix prices of goods in 7 days. The Federal High Court in Lagos on Wednesday ordered the federal government to fix the prices of goods and petroleum within a number of days. Justice Ambrose Lewis Alagoa specifically ordered the government to fix the price of milk, flour, salt, sugar, bicycles and their spare parts, matches, motorcycles and their spare parts, motor vehicles and their spare parts, as well as petroleum products, which includes diesel, premium motor spirits and kerosene. The judge gave the order while delivering judgment in a suit filed by human rights activist Mr. Femi Falana against the Price Control Board and the AGF, that's the Attorney General of the Federation, listed as the first and second defendants. This declaration that the failure or refusal of the respondent to fix the prices of bicycles and their spare parts and every other thing we've listed out is illegal, as it offends the provision of Section 4 of the Price Control Act, cap laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Falana said. Now, at the hearing of the case, Falana informed the court that the motion on notice was premised on Section 4, subsection 1 of the Price Control Act, laws of the Federation of Nigeria. Looking at this particular story, you have to see that it's important that we have some of these issues fixed. It's one of the reasons why we're seeing inflation jumping at the rate that it's jumping at, right? Having commodities that are supposed to be listed in the Price Control Act, not having their own prices, fixed prices by the federal government, it's a problem at this point in time. So bicycles and their spare parts, matches, milk, motorcycles, spare parts, motor vehicles and their spare parts, petroleum products, salt and sugar are commodities that are listed above is supposed to be imposed by the first respondent, and the only petrol products that are fixed to a certain amount are not being enforced. That's what is being said at this point in time.
I actually saw this report because, this judgment was handed down by Federal High Court in Lagos. And now, the truth is, it's a welcome development because I've actually seen, a response from the federal government. Well, they've actually said they are going to understand and monitor, go through the judgment. They're going to study it and also act in the masses' interest. I saw that particular statement credited to the federal government of Nigeria. But that being said, we know that, prices in the country, there have been very, disparity in prices across the country. And it will be a good one if, the federal government stands by, the judgment of the court, asking them to fix the prices of some of these commodities, especially petrol. Just a few days ago, petrol was increased from across other, fuel stations except the NNPC retail stations that sell at 617. Most fuel stations that used to sell at 660 naira, they've now increased this to 670. Some now sell 680, some 690. So there's this disparity in pricing across board from different fuel stations. Not to even talk about the prices of kerosene or even the prices of foodstuff. People sell, at different prices. And at the end of the day, there's no uniformity in pricing, thereby causing more problem for the average Nigerian. And it's a good one. The federal government actually said they are going to study the judgment of the courts, see what they can do, and also actually work in the interest of the country. And I hope they do that. They study the judgment, and I hope they don't appeal this, at the end of the day.
Well, VOP went ahead to ask Nigerians and some of the people around just what the effect of this food inflation is causing in their lives. Just let's take a listen. We're back in a moment.
This is VOP Word on the Street.
Concerning the protests going on in some states about food shortage in the country, do you think that we are actually lacking food in this country? Because the government have come out to say that there is nothing like food shortage in the country.
It's the voices of the folk that will determine, because then they are in high places.
For Nigeria, rice, where would they buy? That Christmas time, we will still buy rice 1-4. But for today, now I enter market, rice is 2,000.
I don't have any problem. It's the people that are in government. Everywhere now is shook up. If you want to farm now, they will kidnap you.
I'm tired of talking now. As they like, let them do it. I'm telling you the gospel truth.
It's not telling us the truth in the sense that there's food in the country, but there's no money to buy the food.
Voice of the people. Now you have a voice.
Okay, that was the voice of the people talking about the food shortage in the country. And of course, let me, borrow a word from the first voice we heard where the person said, people have actually taken to the street to protest. And this leads me to the headline where, police actually arrested about 25 suspects for organizing that violent protest that happened in Niger State. And the police command says 25 persons have been arrested for allegedly organizing violent protests in the state. And on Monday, we know that many residents took to the streets in the Pakunku area of Minna, the state capital, to protest the economic hardship in the country. Some residents in the early hours of today, had also hit the streets, which was yesterday, I beg your pardon, to hit the streets in Suleja area of Niger State to protest the high cost of living in the country. And in a statement on Wednesday, our police spokesperson in the state, Wasiu Abiodun, said one Aisha Jibrin, the initiator of the protest, has been arrested. And, Abiodun also said the protesters blocked the road and refused to clear after several pleas by, the police. And he said the protesters later became violent and destroyed police patrol vehicles, adding that they were wielding dangerous weapons. And this happened, early in the early hours of yesterday along the Mina Bida Road and Pakungu roundabout. And they said, they were claiming to protest against the increase in foodstuff prices and thereby obstructing the highway, depriving motorists and travelers and other road users from gaining access to attend their lawful business. And as a result of this, the organizer of this particular protest have been arrested. Now, looking at it, Gessie, what do you think about it?
The first thing I thought of was, why do we not have body cams? on the police? Why do we not have body cams so we can see what exactly is going on? This situation of police saying one thing and then other individuals are saying another thing, because some of these women have come out to say they did not accost the police. So where there's disparity, we need evidence. We need, video evidence to show that these individuals actually accosted the police, destroyed their vehicles. Let's see it and know that indeed these individuals accosted the police, and that is what led to the arrest. When you have a disparity, she said, he said situation, it just makes it a messy situation.
The question that I've been asked, because the police actually said they recovered some items from them after the arrest. Police said they discovered, recovered knives, about 3 knives from the protesters, and they recovered a bench and a stick which they were wielding. Scissors was part of the things the police recovered, a cutlass, saw blade, as well as iron pipe. They also recovered, 2 wraps of Indian hemp and charms from the protesters. That was what they and then according to the police, they had to weigh in quickly because it was becoming violent in nature. Now the question I'm asking is, yes, the protesters might have had a valid reason to protest, because the truth is everyone in Nigeria can actually have the right to protest, but also it is the responsibility of the police to ensure that even while people are protesting, they do this in an orderly manner, not inflaming other people or not inciting people to violence. Protest is normal. We've seen people have a protest walk without problem. But with what the police claimed they recovered from the protesters yesterday, one question I want to ask: this was what similarly happened with the NSAS protest in 2020, where young Nigerians came out in their numbers across several cities in the country, in Rivers State, in Lagos, here in Abuja. I was even part of the Abuja protest as well, where Nigerians protested peacefully for a couple of days, not until certain individuals with political
unscrupulous elements,
political plans came with boys in buses, which I saw, and unleashed them on the peaceful protesters, and then the police came and clamped down on the peaceful protesters, claiming they were the ones that was causing the havoc. Whereas some people with political inclination brought these thugs in their numbers all the way from Suleja to come and cause chaos in the country. So now the question is this, could it be that this is a similar experience that we saw? Some people that wanted to ensure that the protest stops, bringing these thugs to actually disrupt the process, thereby making the police think these were the protesters causing problem.
Well, at this point in time, we just have to watch and see what the investigations would yield. But let's get to Rufai Hussaini on the phone to let us know what exactly he has to say about some of the headlines we have this morning. Good morning, Rufai.
Hello, Chigashi. How are you? Morning.
Good morning.
Fine, thank you so much. You don't sound chipper for the fact that Nigeria won yesterday.
I don't sound what?
You don't sound happy. You don't sound excited.
Me, I don't sound happy. Me that I shouted all through the night yesterday. I told you now.
We were expecting you to start with music now, like to sing one song for us as usual, in celebration of the Super Eagles.
That would be too predictable now. Don't you think so? That would be too predictable now.
Okay, no problem. You're welcome to the show. Great to have you on the show this morning.
Bless you. But they called us a generator generation.
Exactly.
They call us a generator republic. But we have generated goals to beat them very well now.
Exactly. Anyway, amazing outing for the boys yesterday. So quickly, let's quickly check out the headlines, this morning. And of course, part of the headlines we are discussing is on food shortage this morning, where it is reported, that the federal government has released some grains, and of course, to stem the tide of food shortage in the country. And also, there's a similar headline as well on the cable, where it has been reported that police have actually arrested some of the organizers of the protest in Niger State, that happened 2 days ago. And of course, remember, these protesters claim they are protesting because of the rising inflation and the high cost of food. Now, the question I'm asking, the police claimed that these individuals, especially the organizers and the protesters, were accosted and they attacked police officers. Now the question is, we have seen and heard different comments. Protesters said they were protesting peacefully. The police said they carried charms, woods, and everything to actually, cause mayhem in Niger State. What is your opinion on that?
For me, as far as I'm concerned, please, people have a right for peaceful protest. And the police should watch this high-handedness. I would have thought that the police would be more concerned about the kidnappers. If the police can be so quick to arrest kidnappers, I would have been happy. These are people that are protesting. Why are they protesting? Because of the cost of living, which is, I'm sure, affecting the police officers too. I'm sure those police officers live in Nigeria too. So, please, they should do the needful as regards those people. Let's not harass people that have the right to voluntarily come out and all of that. So, the police should be careful about all these things and all this high-handed nature. Please.
Okay, anyway, looking at it, Gessie, you have any question based on that before we move on to the next headline?
Okay, we're having protesters, Mr. Rufai, at this point in time, what else can Nigerians do? Because we've protested, people have come out to talk about it. What else can be done about this to let our grievances, Nigerians' grievances, be heard by the government? In other way can we express this?
Through media sources, like we do every day here, through civil society, through your lawmakers. You can also write them and let them know your plight.
Which lawmaker, please?
And there are many, many other ways. I think the most important thing is, in a society, there's a need for constant public engagement. And that's what protest is. Protest is a part of public engagement. We all remember when this APC administration wanted to come in there, how they led a lot of protests as regards the situation of things in the country. We all remember Occupy Nigeria and how some of their members largely pushed for that. So it's just that public awareness and continuous public engagement that will make the difference.
All right. We're seeing Oyo State set to prosecute 3 that have been held over the Ibadan explosion. The governor, on Wednesday, he received an official report, talking about the explosion in Old Bodija area of Ibadan. And the special advisor to the governor on security disclosed to newsmen that the report linked 3 persons to the explosion, and he said the 3 persons would be prosecuted. Mr. Rufai, what's your take on this?
Let them face the full wrath of the law, please. We can't have a country where people store explosives everywhere and all sorts of things happen and people are hurt, people are killed. And also, I just hope that the victims that lost homes and the likes, I hope they have insurance. So this is also a need for proper insurance culture in our country for our things, for our wares and our everything. So I just hope they have insurance, and I just hope they are able to stabilize from their losses. It's a very sad one for our country, very sad one.
Mr. Rufai, apart from insurance, right? We're seeing a situation in outside the country, in different shores, right, where individuals who build homes are expected to have at least sprinklers. Water sprinkler systems or smoke detector, some sort of firefighting service or equipment to help you in aid situations like this, right? Is there a way that we can impose this on Nigerians?
Yeah. I mean, there's a need for security and safety features in homes in general and all of that. Yeah, but this case was not about safety or sprinkler system. An explosion happened because bombs, explosive of bomb caliber, explosive might be bomb now. Explosive might be inside bomb, now they make a bomb. Was kept in homes. So there's no matter the amount of sprinkler. Did you see the crater?
Exactly, we saw it.
Yes.
I'm not sure you saw the crater. It was of earthquake proportions. So explosive or sprinklers, explosive that was kept in homes exploded. So the question we should be asking here is, how can explosive be kept in homes in the first place? So we should never allow that to happen.
Okay, let's
in the first place.
Okay.
That's the most important we should try to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to another headline. It seems like it's a season of protest in the country, and this time, distillers are now planning more protest as the reps, that's the House of Reps, are probing the ban on sachet alcohol right now. We know that the House of Reps on Tuesday directed its committee on NAFDAC to probe the circumstances around, the ban imposed on the production of beverages in sachet and small bottles by the agency. And as a result, the Green Chamber have actually said they are going to probe this. But distillers are saying they are going to protest because over 500 jobs were lost in the process.
No, not over 500 jobs.
500,000, 500,000, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, not 500. See, the beverage producers in the country, part of the employment in this country. So it's a very important sector of the economy. And due to the economic challenges, they've been facing a lot of challenges before now. I understand the point of NAFTA that talks about 200 milliliter PET bottles, that those things are wrong, it gets easy access. But let me tell you, everywhere in the world, alcohol is a big sector. Take, for instance, look at the declaration of the profits by Nigerian brewers and the likes. Those things, too, add to every economy. I mean, till today, I've not still been able to see the hypocrisy behind Karen saying, okay, yeah, we Sharia and all of that, but they collect VAT that alcohol brings in. You get? So I've not been able to understand the hypocrisy. It shows that, beverages, alcoholic beverages are a big section around the world. What the government should do, or NAFDAC should do, is not to ban them. Because it has shown that historically, ban don't work. You see, from about 1990, definitely there was some group called the Anti-Salon Party League in America there that pushed for something called the Volstead Act, at which they banned alcohol. But guess what? It just ensured that we had a rise in what we call speakeasies, which are underground bars where people went to drink. And the illegal alcohol trade in America became a big one once it was abolished. And guess when it was abolished? When the economic situation became so high after the 1929 stock market crash. So because they saw that alcohol too brings a very big impact, what they should do is, number one, more sensitization, more licensing, all right? Thirdly, more clampdown on underage voting. And the empirical stats shows that Nigeria has just about 3.9% of underage drinking, alcoholism. More sensitization, more clampdown, and they should make it mandatory for bars, for instance, you have to show their licensing. Younger underage, when they come to bars, they have to show their licensing. For stores, you must be able to show some form of licensing before you buy alcohol and all of that. Make it more difficult to be able to get. There should be, personal assessment and all of that to be able to look at these things. As regards motor park drivers that drive, in every motor park and their they should have breathalyzers that constantly check the alcohol and blood level, before they park or things like that. I think these are the things you can use to do that. But an outright ban is also going to be an outright ban on the industry. Because don't forget, Nigeria has become a sachet economy. Where most people buy things in sachet because they can't even have the money to be able to afford, bigger parks and things like that. So let's be careful so that we don't throw an economy that is already ailing somewhere. Because if you put an outright ban, you're just going to kill the economy.
All right, Mr. Rufai, NNPC and IPMAN, they are at it again. Once again, we're having oil marketers, they're expressing their worries that there might be scarcity of petrol in if the NNPC fails to make the products available to depot owners and other dealers. Question, have you started seeing queues in Lagos State?
Yes, so there are already queues in Lagos. There are already queues. That's why we call on the NNPC to do the needful. There are already queues in Lagos. Let's not deceive ourselves. But the
NNPC is saying that, this time is not a case of scarcity, rather is a case of distribution, moving this product.
Is there a time NNPC has ever accepted to you in this Nigeria that there is no scarcity, that there is scarcity?
It seems like our senators are also afraid of what is happening in the country, especially.
What to do about it? Only yesterday, to bolster our UK Nigeria Security Pact. There was another meeting, the second of this kind. The last meeting was held in around 2nd of February 2022, where we talked about, border security, port security. We talked about, carrying out, some of the regulations in the Yaoundé Accord as regards, port security and all of that, cyber crimes, human rights, trafficking in persons, and all the security parameters. So we had that meeting with the UK authorities yesterday, and they said, they're going to continue to train and partner with us for our special forces and things like that, so like a symbiotic relationship. But that is not just enough. We can't keep depending on the West for our security needs and training and all of that. Yeah, collaborations are good, but the question is, how can we develop our own local capacity within and to be able to aid our system in general? And I think that's the most important part of the conversation.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. El-Rufai, for joining us. Simeon, do you have questions?
Actually, wanted to touch on one headline, still touching on, insecurity. I don't know if you saw the report where it has been reported that, based on what is happening in the country right now, it's a case of our peacekeeping military officers being killed, where bandits killed a soldier who was on a peacekeeping mission in Nasarawa State. I don't know if you saw that particular headline.
I saw that story, and it's a sad one. That is a very sad one. I mean, we pray for the repose of the souls of the soldiers, but that's why we keep, shining light on this insecurity situation, and we want something to be done as regards it quickly and speedily to be able to help ensure that we return to a level of parity and normalcy. God bless you guys. I love you so much. God bless Nigeria. We're excited. We're in the finals. Let's go out there and beat Cote d'Ivoire on Sunday and bring the trophy back to Nigeria, and we'll scream, yeah. Come on, Eagles.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great morning. Anyway, that was Rufai Hosseini fleshing out some of the headlines we have this morning right here on the show. Of course, remember, we're still live on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube page and join the conversation on YouTube. The handle is Voice of the People Abuja YouTube page, Voice of the People Abuja. Drop a comment as well as subscribe. And you can also send a message to us via WhatsApp, or send a voice note, or call us up via our studio number 0700 010 961 961 0700 010 961 961. We go pay some bills. When we come back, of course, we get back to the headlines. We'll be joined by a guest, shortly as well.
So you want to stick around for that conversation. Don't forget to call or leave us a message on WhatsApp or on the comment section on YouTube. Go ahead and send us a message. Good morning. We'll be back in a moment.
Today's sun is so hot though. So what are you waiting for? Get the authentic taste of creamy cold berry ice cream. To order online from Gariki, call 090-8831-5907. Guarimpa 090-8831-5909 and Lugbe 090-8845-3416.
Enjoy authentic cold berry ice cream.
Are you traveling to Lagos and desire a perfect getaway?
Look no further than the luxurious accommodations at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, number 42 Murtala Mohammed International Road, Lagos.
Relax and unwind in our beautiful appointed rooms, featuring all the amenities you need for a comfortable stay.
Now, whether you are traveling for business or pleasure, our attentive staff is here to ensure that your every need is met. We also offer complimentary pickup and drop from the Lagos Airport.
Why not take advantage of our state-of-the-art fitness center, outdoor pool, and enjoy a delicious meal at our on-site restaurant?
With stunning views, world-class service, and a prime location, Airport Golden Tulip Hotel is the perfect choice for your next vacation or business trip.
So why wait? Book your stay today and experience the ultimate in comfort and luxury at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel.
For bookings and reservations, please call 0815-8003-333 or 0815-7003-333. You can visit our website at airportgoldentuliphotel.com.
Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, where luxury meets comfort.
Believe me, believe me, believe me.
like what we do? Want to see some more of us? Hop over and meet us on YouTube, Insta, and Twitter. At Voice of the People 96.1 FM. Share us on your socials. Tell everyone. Send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us at Voice of the People 96.1 FM. See ya.
Every play, every score, and every victory is a story waiting to be told. Sports Bit. Weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Now you have a voice.
Welcome back. This is Voice of the People 96.1 FM Front Page Review. Right here is the show that you're listening to. We're live on YouTube. You can join the conversation. It's at Voice of the People Abuja. And you can also join the conversation on normal regular call or WhatsApp at 0700 010 961 961. Earlier we were joined by El-Rufai Seni. We checked out a couple of headlines. We'll be joined by our guest in a moment, but just a recap on some of the headlines we checked out. Of course, we celebrated with the Super Eagles and the VP who said he's ensuring he's going to give them some amount of incentive for winning that particular semi-final, for advancing to the finals. We also have distillers planning more protests as reps probe ban on sachet alcohol. We also checked out a little bit on insecurity, where tension as bandits kill soldiers on peacekeeping mission. Court ordering the federal government to fix prices of goods in 7 days. There's also the issue of the marketers Ipman versus NNPCL, where there's a differ as marketers are fearing few queues will spread. Well, let's try to get our guest on the phone this morning.
Okay, we're trying to get across to our guest this morning. While we'll try to reach him as quick as possible, let's still check out one more headline before we get through to him this morning.
All right, we have tension as bandits kill soldiers on peacekeeping mission in Nasarawa State. Just so you can have the right details in hand, there's palpable fear in Katakba community in Toto local government area of Nasarawa State following the alleged killing of 3 Nigerian army personnel and 2 vigilantes by bandits who invaded the LGA on Tuesday.
Okay, we're through to our guest this morning. Anyway, we're being joined by our guest. His name is Larry Ogwego, and of course, getting to know about Larry is actually the founder and coordinator of Human Rights Volunteer Corps, better known as HRVC. He is a human capacity development consultant and a social reformer. Good morning to you, Larry Ogwego. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing great, especially after we barely escaped from the South Africa.
Would you call that a barely escape?
I mean, we had this confidence. Some of us were already looking forward to the finals, but these guys, this was a case of no grief for anybody. They were like, these guys. I mean, in fact, one of the things I told my friends is that when you underestimate an opponent. If the opponent is like me, or is like David in the Bible, the opponent will want to become a giant killer. The opponent will rise up to the occasion, basically to make a statement. I think at some point, the feedback they were getting was that it was a done deal. I mean, we have a super squad, a very solid, back, middle, up front, and I think they also decided to make a statement. Of course, gets already narrated how it was an emotional turmoil for her. So to that extent, yes, it was like a roller coaster, literally speaking. It was like a roller coaster. At some point, I'll be honest with you, I stopped watching. I just put the matter in the hands of God.
Your heart couldn't take it anymore. Okay, anyway.
Yes, I was like, that this is crazy, but let's just hope for the best. But I think it worked well for us. And this is a good time to be a Nigerian, meanwhile. If we can bring the spirit of football to every other thing we do, where you have the Ahmed Musas, the different person, we just play football and we want to win, and we are so united. And we are not really looking at who scored the goal, who didn't score. We are just looking at the fact that we won this trophy. Now, when we begin to think like that as a nation, we want to succeed. We want to be the giant of Africa, the real giant, not just the wobbling giant. Okay. Yeah, so when we get to that point where we learn lessons from football, I think a lot of other things will change. We'll win other games too.
Anyway, thank you so much, Larry, for your commentary on that particular one. Anyway, congratulations to the Super Eagles. Now, let's get straight to the headline on the Punch newspaper this morning. And it talks about tension as bandits kill soldiers on peacekeeping mission in Nasarawa. There is, palpable fear in a particular community known as Kataka community in Toto, local government area of Nasarawa State, following the alleged killing of 3 Nigerian army personnel and 2 vigilantes by bandits who invaded local government, a night ago. Unidentified gunmen, actually, murdered 3 persons according to reports and destroyed properties worth millions of naira in that particular community. And this has actually prompted the Nigerian army to deploy its personnel to the location to maintain law and order. Now, the question I'm asking, Larry Ogoego, is the fact that we've heard a lot of, killings. Several platforms, social media, print media, even on broadcast media. It seems like it is now on a daily basis that we get to hear about bandits killing a person. But this time they've taken it, a step further, killing soldiers as well. And this is all it can to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. But this is one too many of Nigerian military officers being killed. And it always seems like nothing is being done about that. We hear statements from the military that they are going to address it. They are going to fish out the killers. But at the end of the day, we don't hear much about them. Unfortunately, our response to insecurity is basically like the knee-jerk approach, because you just said that after the killing of 3 soldiers, there was deployment of more soldiers. So we actually lock this cable most of the time after the horse has escaped. So they attack, cause mayhem, then we deploy people to that place after they have attacked, and they go and attack somewhere else. I mean, this is not a frontal warfare. As it is, we're actually at war. And this not a frontal warfare. We're dealing with terrorism here. We should go beyond this idea of just responding and making statements. And there's another point that you raised that we are not taking seriously. This is not the first time soldiers are being killed. I mean, they have the temerity to even go on the offensive and attack soldiers. Unfortunately, we have reached that point where civilians are so afraid because soldiers don't appear to be right inside the military premises. So I think we need to have more collaborations between security agencies. I think our biggest failure is a failure of intelligence gathering. These particular bandits and all of those guys, they are not really very sophisticated. Because if they were that sophisticated, Americans wouldn't have come here to pick up their son and walk away. They were not that sophisticated. I think what is happening to us is we're not really we're not doing enough intelligence-led response. We are reacting. We are not planning ahead of them. This is a thinking game.
I mean, these guys actually do hit and run. So we have to preempt them. We have to even find them. They buy food, they buy petrol, they buy bikes. They have people who repair their bikes. We need to go beyond just deploying physical resources to just ward off further attacks after they have already caused mayhem. I think we need to change strategy altogether. And I don't want to talk about what we say every day. So what's the morale of the particular soldiers we expect to protect us? How are they paid? How are they treated? I heard a human rights organization and I received reports that's directly to my office about people who were sent, mobile policemen who were sent to Northeast some time ago, and they were not paid allowances for months on end. I received the report directly, and I shed tears because these men who left family, left everything, went to defend Nigeria, and they were not only poorly treated, they were not paid the allowances they were supposed to be paid for doing all that. And then politicians are collecting fat allowance, fat extra codes for doing practically nothing. With all due respect, many of the assistants don't do anything and they are paid first. Then the people who make the environment safe for them to do nothing, they don't get paid. So we need to also look at that. I mean, why should people really do so much when they get so little? When it seems the people who should appreciate them, who should reward them, who should protect them are not doing that. These are fundamental questions. And when we begin to answer these questions, then we can begin to deal with insecurity. It's not a matter of deployment and redeployment. That's when they attack, you respond. It's not a knee-jerk thing. It's a thinking game. If we think ahead of the bandits, and they're not smarter than
Hello?
think ahead of them, we'll be pursuing them. They attack, we deploy. They attack another place.
All right. Moving on to the state of the economy, we're seeing court ordering the federal government to fix prices of goods in 7 days. We're looking at different, commodities like milk, flour, salt, sugar, bicycles and their spare parts, motorcycles and their spare parts, motor vehicles and their spare parts, even petroleum products as well. Now, this case was brought into the court by Femi Falana. He approached the court to determine whether the virtue of Section 4 of the Price Control Act is carrying out its duties to impose a price on any goods that are of the kind specific in the first schedule of the Price Control Act. Now, the point is, we're at a point where inflation is going up. Inflation keeps rising and we're seeing protests here and there. Just how important is fixing of the prices of goods and petroleum products? How important is it in the fight against inflation?
I think it may be easy to suggest that we fix prices or even decrease prices, but then we need to also begin to think about whether we can enforce the regulation of prices. It reminds me of the price control days. I was a very small boy when we had this price control regime. And does it really work? I think there are products that can be more easily managed and regulated, like petroleum products. And it's not so difficult to supply of petroleum products because of the nature of the business, because of the way it is dispensed. If you have abundant supply, you can actually regulate the prices. But if you don't have enough supply, because people want to move around and some of them are desperate, they will still patronize what we call black market and get their petrol somehow. So regulating prices is one thing. Being able to enforce the prices you put out there is another. It's an exchange thing. If you want me to sell something for less than I want to sell it, all I have to do is to withdraw it from the point of sale, and then somebody who really needs it will come to me and buy it. It's called an underground market. And then what happens is that the whole process will be frustrated. I think we need to look at more fundamental solutions. I think what Falana did also is to bring to the fore the crisis we are passing through, especially in the area of petroleum products. One of the world's leading suppliers of crude oil. It's a shame that we are still talking about whether we're fixing price of petroleum products and all of that. It's a big shame. But I hope that with the Dangote refinery coming on stream soon, and with the so-called technical completion of the turnaround maintenance of the Port Harcourt refinery, I don't know how we get all those technical jargon, because it's either you have completed it or you have not.
Technical completion. The last time we heard about the Port Harcourt refinery, they said it was on the test run. We were asking for how long will they test run the refinery. Anyway, thank you.
How long will the test run?
Exactly.
So I think it's important that we just accept that price control looks good on paper, but it's extremely difficult to enforce anywhere in the world. If you have abundance of those materials, if Nigeria is a producing nation and we have everything we need, then it's relatively easier. But if there is scarcity of goods and you want to control prices, it will not just work, no matter how many decrees you put out there.
All right, the federal government is set to open reserves, the National Food Reserve, to address food costs in Nigeria. Just how far would it go to crash food prices?
Yeah, the big challenge is not just opening the food reserves, but how do you make sure that when you open the food reserves, the food doesn't go into the hands of the speculators and big businessmen who may still defeat the purpose? Because one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria is actually corruption. Corruption is like a virus that compromises our capacity to deliver solutions. That's the problem. We're not even thinking about that. We just look at the solution. We say, okay, we want to open the food reserves, so we want to bring out food from the reserves. But how do you ensure that the food reserves get to the ordinary consumer to the extent that it will now make prices drop, or at least stabilize prices? And then another question is, how long will our food reserves intervention last? Because it's a short-term measure, but I think the most critical thing is it will give us a reprieve at least. Now, we are getting to that point where people are practically exploding. I was following your conversation earlier, and you were talking about the demonstrations and all of that. The pressure is too high. So what we need at this time is a short-term measure, maybe. So when we release the food reserves and we manage to ensure that it gets to the people who need the food, then what will happen is that the pressure will reduce. But then, while we're doing that, we should also ask ourselves, what are the long-term measures we are putting in place to ensure that we tackle the food problem permanently? If we don't have these long-term measures, no matter how much we have in the reserve, we run the risk of even the reserve itself running out, and we'll have a more difficult situation. But I think the critical question I want to ask, and I hope they are listening, is how do you ensure that food speculators and commodity traders will not collect the food from the reserves and then put it out there and sell it at the same price? It's a critical question considering how Nigeria functions. But if they can fix that, then maybe we can have a short period of reprieve, which is good at this time, because the way we are going, people are losing it. Some of them are feeling that, okay, if we don't die demonstrating, hunger will kill us. So whichever way is death. And that kind of feeling is very bad. So I think they need to manage the food release carefully so that it gets to the most desperate people who need food.
Okay, very valid remark. And quickly, let's also talk about, insecurity for a bit. And it seems like, certain individuals are now finding a way to profess some form of solution to the government. And the headline is on The Sun, which talks about insecurity. Obi has been quoted, and Tambuwal as well as Atta, saying governors need more, powers to secure their state. That is the headline on Daily Sun. And of course, it talks about the details say some former governors have now advocated, more powers for governors to effectively tackle security challenges in their respective domains. And these former governors spoke during the panel discussions at the annual lecture and International Leadership Symposium of the Center for Values in Leadership in Lagos. And we know that a new book by Professor Pat Utomi, founder of CVL, titled Power, Politics, Public Policy Process and Performance, was launched during that particular program. And of course, while speaking at that program, the former governor of Anambra State and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, and even Tambuwal, who is the former governor of Sokoto State, and Obong Victor Okta, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, who were panelists, said that it is necessary that state governors are now given more power to handle cases of security. And this raises the question of, proponents for state policing in the country. Is this possible? Is this something that we can see be achieved in this country and in this time?
I think we need to understand clearly that if you give me a responsibility and you don't give me the power to carry it out, then it's very, very fraudulent, and it's difficult for me to perform. If you say a governor is the chief security officer and he doesn't have real control, then it becomes very difficult for the governor to perform. However, we have to be very careful, because one of the things I've noticed is that we don't think things through, and that's why very often we create solutions only to get into more problems after having created the solutions. State policing is very good. Incidentally, I belong to the policing committee on several fronts. I understand policing very well, to the extent that I've been involved in policing matters, workshops, practical issues, receiving feedback from people who are hurt and harmed by policemen, and I have some kind of insight into how policing works in Nigeria. My greatest fear about state police, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't have it, but I think we need to have that, the right in front of us while we discuss state policing, is one, who pays the state police? It's supposed to be the state. A lot of states are not able to pay minimum wage to civil servants. Some of them owe arrears of salaries. When you arm a policeman and you are not able to pay him salaries, and he's standing at a checkpoint, how do you think you're going to be able to drive through that checkpoint without dropping something? How is he going to survive? These are very, very genuine concerns, because I have seen policemen do very, very terrible things to road users. And then you also ask another question. How are we going to control the neutrality of the state police? Very often we have governors who are extremely high-handed. I don't need to mention them. You know some of them. People who will dig out roads just so that political opponents will not be able to pass. People who will do all sorts. Now, if you give that person power to control policing apparatus in a state, how will the opposition party be even able to move around and hold campaigns and all of that? I'm not saying that we shouldn't have state police, but I'm saying that we must think it through. If we are going to have state police, we must have very, very powerful regulatory system, such that the politicians, especially the governors, will not abuse the power of having a personal army, as it were, because they now have a state police. So while we advocate that the governors should be able to assert themselves and be able to solve security problems their way, I think we need to also create a balance. Another point I need to also establish is that governors also wield some powers now. It's just that we don't like talking about it. But there is no governor that doesn't give the police a lot of money, a lot of vehicles. The police is funded by both the federal and state government. That is the practical state of affairs now. And I wonder how you can give your commissioner of police so much money for security. I'm aware that the commissioners of police get money from the state government. I'm aware that states donate vehicles, 100 vehicles, 150 vehicles, and other logistics and equipment to them. So the question becomes, why do they always claim that they are totally powerless? While we need state police, we have to be careful about how we manage them. And I still want to insist that the governors are not really even using the powers they have now. If you doubt what I'm saying, when you have a case against a state government, against a politician in a state, you will be surprised at how much influence the governor will wield on the politician. But when it comes to fighting crime, they pretend that they're powerless.
The way we saw,
and that's not entirely true. So we have to also, yes, when they relate to the police, somehow it works. They detain the journalists for as long as they want to. But when it comes to fighting insurgents or fighting criminals, they will claim they need state police. And then you ask yourself, you raised another point now. So how will journalists survive when they have the state police if they don't have control and they're able to arrest journalists and detain them? So we need to balance our conversations, because sometimes we get into hysteria. We shout, oh, we need this. We have this quick fix mentality that state police will solve all the problems. I can state clearly, based on my experience of policing in Nigeria, may improve the situation in states where we have responsible governors who have the capacity to lead and who have the right intentions and motives. But there are states where it will create practical war, it will create chaos if we don't manage it well. So while we have the conversation about whether we should have it or not, we should even have more conversations about how to regulate state police so it doesn't increase the problems rather than solve them.
Aside regulation, the bane of most concern, the concern of these governors is how do they pay this police if they eventually set up, or even a constitution is amended to make way for state policing in the country. The question is, how do they get paid?
And that's the problem.
Where we've seen
because if
state civil servants are being owed salaries, even the implementation of the 30,000 minimum wage, they are still yet to do that. So how do you fund these police officers?
And that's where I started, actually. I mean, if they are clamoring for state police, on the contrary, they're saying we don't have resources. So if we are talking about state police, then we have to begin to think about restructuring properly, because you don't say, oh, take state police, but you don't give me more resources to fund state police. The proper thing to do is to do a proper restructuring of Nigeria, which incidentally both the APC and Mr. President subscribe to. When you do restructuring and the state, for instance, manage their resources and pay revenue to the center, then they can afford to pay the state police and do whatever they have to do. And there will be real competition. People will now be very serious about developing the mineral resources in their state, and you have that competitive spirit that existed when we had the regional arrangement. There is no state that is poor in Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. I think Nigeria is actually a spoiled child because we were practically overblessed. Every single state has an impressive array of solid minerals or oil and gas, or all of them. And we are still a poor country because the federal government sits on all of these things and they don't obviously have the capacity to harness them. So if you are going to say have state police, you should begin to think of devolving power and resources to the extent that when I get the state police, I should also be able to fund it.
Okay.
All right. So, Mr. Larry, we're seeing the AFCC with a 7,000-man task force going after dollar racketeers. This is looking at the economy, the state of the economy at the moment, and they're trying as much as they can to reduce the pressure on the naira. And they've raised a 7,000-man special task force across the different 14 zonal commands to clamp down on dollar. Are we hoping to see a growth or an improvement in the pressure on the naira with this particular task force?
Yeah, it still goes back to the knee-jerk approach I was talking about. That is not a sustainable solution. If it's going to give us a reprieve, at best it will give us a very temporary reprieve. I will tell you why the naira is weak, and it's not rocket science. Yes, I respect the professionals, the people who talk about macroeconomics and talk about all the highfalutin analysis, but I will tell you why the naira is weak, and it's very simple. You see, we live in a country where we import everything. We import tissue paper, we import toothpick, we import footwear, we import clothing. We were sewing clothing at Aba, that is world-class shirts and suits, before Turkey started making dresses. Turkey deliberately planned to get into that industry. Today, they're a global player. But in Nigeria, we have perfected the art of being a consumer nation. And we give the world only one thing, and that is crude oil. And we got so lazy with the crude oil that we can't even bring out enough.
We can't even regulate,
and at some point, we started stealing from the only product that we started stealing from ourselves, to the extent that we can't even get enough crude oil to fund our import. Go back to when naira was strong. In this same country, we had two major assembly plants that gave us the cars we were driving, and even government officials were driving our own cars. In this same country, we had companies that manufactured the trucks we were using. Remember Anamco? Remember Steyer? We had companies that manufactured our own tractors in this same country. In this same country, we had companies that manufactured windscreens for the vehicles and tires.